Hello and welcome to today's historic Best of 3 deck tech and gameplay video on an update to Hammertime. Hammertime comes from the name Colossus Hammer, and what the deck wants to do is take any number of our various creatures that care about artifacts in one form or another, equip them with any of our various equipments. Again, hammer is kind of like the namesake, but of course you can get other things. We want to equip those creatures with any of these equipment, ideally very far ahead of the curve with things like Stoneforge Mystic, even Cloud, and Sigarda's Aid. All these things allow us, hopefully, to equip one of our little dudes with a big scary hammer and bonk our opponent in the face, ideally before they can mount a whole lot of defense or answer our threats somewhat profitably. Little honorary mention to the Kaldra Compleat and Batterskull. These are both equipment that can, equip to one of the aforementioned creatures. But also they both have living weapon, which basically means that even if the creature in question, we'll use a Fireblade Charger for this example, were to die as you go to, as opposed to a regular equipment, I should say, where, say, if you went to equip a Buster Sword to a Fireblade Charger, your opponent could theoretically remove the Charger, and then you've wasted the mana to try and equip it. This is why the living weapon equipment are here, so that you can, if nothing else, when you play these or put them into play earlier, again, Stoneforge Mystic, they come with their own body. And it doesn't sound like a whole lot, but some of the best living weapon cards that I think really have ever existed being in the format, it's not the most obviously powerful thing, but it's just a nice little bit of redundancy in a deck that is very one-dimensional about what it wants to do. Every little bit of improvement, any way you can get it, is great. Beyond that, land base, pretty self-explanatory. This is a red-white aggressive list, so we want to play lands that will come into play untapped on the first couple of turns. Cards like shock lands, fast lands. I have these little pain lands. But basically, whatever lands you have that will come into play in the first really 2 to 3 turns of the game, since you want to hit the ground running, ideally with a 1-drop, and then a 2-drop, and from there you're not going to kill your opponent by turn 2, but you really want to be like popping off on turns like 3 to 4, maybe 5 at the latest, and trying to close out a game from there. Sideboard, pretty self-explanatory cards, with the caveat of I tried to include as many equipment as possible, not only because one of the newer, I guess you could call it, anthologies, even though they didn't call it an anthology for like the sake of the collection, which was stupid, but that particular release of anthology cards to Historic added most of the rest of the swords to the format of various colors, so now you actually have a protection sword for every color that is in the game, where before you did not, and that's just another bit of power in addition to whatever effect the sword has besides the protection from X and Y. So we have all of the aforementioned swords of various colors, pretty self-explanatory when you would bring them in and against what kind of decks. Also have a single Darksteel plate because indestructible is nice. Do have a single Lion Sash as a bit of graveyard hate and an equipment, so it really kind of fits well into the theme of the deck. Boros Charm as a removal interaction spell by giving your things indestructible if you need to, or either of the other charm effects. Rampaging Ferocidon for opposing life gain decks, because they're always popular in the format. And to Settle the Wreckages, which are one of my favorite sweepers, because it's a one-sided sweeper which we love in an aggressive deck. It allows us to interact with our opponent's board without necessarily losing ours. And that, again, is the basis of the list. Play Dude, play Hammer, equip Hammer to Dude, hit opponent with Dude. And that's it. That's the whole game plan of the deck, boiled down. And with that out of the way, don't forget to like the video if you like it, subscribe if you like my grab bag of content and would like to see more in the future. And if you have any sort of questions, like I don't have X, what about Y, or other generally nice questions, I'll do what I can to respond to what I see. With all of that out of the way, we'll go on now to game number 1. And game number 1 with our little Hammertime list. And as always, we play first because we have a brain. I don't have any dudes. I have equipment, but no way to either cheat them in with the Stoneforge or to equip them at instant speed with a Sigarda's aid. So this seems odd, but we're going to throw it back. That's much better. Take your basic, I won't need it anyway. In the main game, the Batterskull is a good example of what I'm about to talk about. In the in your game 1 before sideboarding, unless you've really determined what your opponent has. Well, okay. Opponent has or is playing. Some of the better things you're going to look for with a Stoneforge Mystic are some of the living weapon cards. Kaldra Compleat's a great example. You can cheat it into play with a Stoneforge, should you find it off a Stoneforge. And it's just a very difficult thing to interact with since both... Okay, that's annoying. Since both the weapon itself has indestructible, as well as whatever it enchants also gets indestructible, which is fantastic for what this deck wants to do. But this actually, from our opponent, has sort of shown, honestly, the big weakness of the deck. The format is... That helps. The format is, if I'm being honest, it's really Golgari heavy, for being honest, and both of those, black especially, is very good at instant speed removal. And when this deck struggles is when you're trying to resolve an equipment, or an equip ability of an equipment, I should say. Play the Kembas, make our Kaldra cheap to equip. But with the deck's biggest weakness is basically interacting in response to you equipping some weapon to some creature. And cards like Sigarda's Aid do help that. There's just... Well, that's great. Cards like Sigarda's Aid do help that, but it's not, perfect. Although we kind of got lucky. Also, another thing that black is particularly good about doing, in addition to the aforementioned, instant speed removal, is that it has the ability to attack our hand and attack our resources. And this deck is effectively another aggressive combo deck, but it doesn't have a really high amount of card draw, so it's really, really susceptible to discard, just because the deck is trying to win very early on and isn't as concerned about going long. Oh, I hate doing this so much. I hate this, but I believe the responsible play is to use the other Fireblade Charger to get rid of the Nighthawk. I want so bad to have thrown that at their face. But this buys us breathing room. At least some breathing room. We'll see if it matters. Annoyingly, because the Nighthawks have lifelink, they're actually ahead in the race. And I can't even activate a Den because Hive has Menace for some reason. We have to activate the Den, though. If nothing else, just to try and generate some blockers. But we're going to be in for a really rough time unless we find something big and scary. There's just no way around it. Let's see what we draw. Give me something good. Stone, okay. Stormforged is something. Why? Oh, but no. No, they were fine. They were alive all day. Why did they... Even if I got another Colossus Hammer, it's only 10... Whatever. I was going to say, I think we were in for a bad matchup there, but apparently we're not. Opponent appears to be a mono blacklist. So this is one of those instances where we're going to bring in all of our pro black swords. And we're going to cut 3 of the Colossus Hammer, since Colossus Hammer, it's not a bad card, but like the cute bit of Colossus Hammer, once it's especially in a best of 3 example, once they've seen the Colossus Hammer, they kind of know what it is, so you can't expect a Colossus Hammer to resolve or to stick around, but it's always nice to have a one-of copy still left in the deck somewhere. Big question is, what do we... They didn't seem to run that many dudes. I'm going to cut a Get Lost to put in a Boros Charm. Again, in this instance, it'll probably just be an indestructible thing, but can also be over the top if we need it. Boros Charm and Get Lost are also at the same mana, so we're not really diluting, or we're not messing with the curve too much. I think that's too good to pass up. I would love to have a guy, but having a Sigarda's Aid and enough lands. Correction. When we would have had a Sigarda's Aid, would have been great. But I guess we paid it too. Man. I apologize. My brain is all over the place and I haven't recorded in a hot minute. And this is one of those where... Honestly, there's no reason not to play this. You can make an argument that we should potentially save the Colossus Hammer and reduce the equip cost with like a Kimbra's Outfitter or whatever that card's called. But they're playing mono black and they've shown themselves to have a load of discard spells. I don't think we can realistically expect to keep things in our hand. I'd be very surprised if there's not like a Get Lost, or isn't Get Lost the name of that one discard payoff enchantment thing? Yeah, we're never going to be able to... The important bit is we're never going to be able to keep things in our hand. So this is one of those... Just hopefully get there eventually. What was I saying? Oh my god. Yeah, black is... Anything black heavy, I think this is the point I was going to go for eventually. Any remotely black heavy matchup is just a really bad time. I know we just talked about it in the first one, but like with all of the new I think they're called, I think Lurgoyf is the name of the creature type technically. For all of the Lurgoyfs that got added that I think came from commander sets, the meta has been super Boomer Jund heavy, just because what was a meme deck has sort of circled back around to being kind of good. Oh, this fucking sucks. So as a result, if Boomer Jund does one thing really good, it's able to grind out and go really, really long with all of its mid-range value-oriented plays. And a big part of that is like the relative strength of both, in this case, mono black, or black as a color and green as a secondary color. Both of those have every tool available, not only to answer our creatures in regards to black. There we go. In regards to black, but also have all the tools in the world to answer the enchantments in green. It's just, the meta's in a not good spot. We've lost, so we're just going to pack it in. All of that being said, I know this, again, I apologize for the rambling nature, but I'm just off my game today. The whole reason why I mentioned that is that while a game like this makes this deck look bad, and if we're going to be honest, it's not great in this particular meta, all of the new swords have added to the strength of like Hammertime list. You just have more options and more resiliency, which is good. The deck is objectively better than it was. There's no way around that. You cannot deny this fact. It's just poised in a bad spot against the current meta. But I could very much see myself returning to this list in the future when we eventually get more equipment cards or payoffs. My money's on Thoughtseize. Yeah. Do you take the Sram or the Batterskull? Sram it be. Stoneforge. Still, I believe, the correct play. I do want to do Feast and Famine. It's just one of the better swords ever printed. I am under no illusion that this thing is not going to stay in my hand for a turn. It just won't. Not against a deck like this. But we still have to try. Well, that's kind of annoying. But the fact that it managed to resolve is crazy. And this is, I mean, who knows what'll happen. But if our opponent does not remove our outfitter in response, like now, I don't think they have any way shy of like some edict to interact with it. And I'm happy this ended in a victory, but the first game, like the earlier games 1 and 2 basically of this first match showed both when the deck struggles, and this one showed when it like really succeeds and does very well. This is a good encapsulation of, honestly, the majority of your matchups. You'll have really exciting highs and really low lows, but it's still a fun deck and still very much so worth doing. And now let's go on to game number 2. And game number 2 with our Hammertime list. Yeah. I was going to say it's a one-lander, but most of our hands are one-mana card. Or sorry, most of the cards in our hand are one-mana cards. I think the Outfitter is still the smart thing to do. Would very much like to get that Colossus Hammer El Cheapo. We're not taking that block ever. That would be stupid. I'm not going to give you a free card. Least of all for 1 damage or this early. I'm okay. Mardu and some fine cards. Okay. Sigarda's Aid. Is it into next turn? To your next turn. Okay, not in step. It was something like that. I'm not gonna attack. I know we just talked mad shit about blocking Unlucky Witness. Okay, this kind of helps my decision. Okay. I know I talked mad shit about blocking an Unlucky Witness, but I think we kind of need... Or especially we need to block now. That there's just some Mardu go wide thing that's carried by Guide of Souls. Oh, man, this card makes me so sad. Guide of Souls... Okay, I also fucking need things. Play a Charger, hope it lives, probably won't. If it does, we're just gonna try and do the Colossus Hammer cube thing. Our opponent appears to be some Mardu go wide thing that has a lot of... Yeah, it's basically the Boros energy with like some black cute stuff mixed in. Yeah, it's not going great. We have the cute thing. If we don't draw any more lands, our life was going to be miserable regardless. So we just have to hope at this stage, because it's just not going to happen any other way. Cool, chump blocks are great. That's damage that's not going to my face. Okay. Voice of Victory. Make dude big. Or go wide, then eventually make dude big. You have to have... Do we die? We have to play more dudes, though. We're very close to dead. We're probably dead. Why? Is there any way I live? Right? I can't think of one. If I draw a Shadowspear, I think I'm okay. That is not a Shadowspear. Yeah, okay. I was cool with one land for the sake of that beginning hand, but I did need more lands eventually. Opponent is playing weird, goofy-ass Mardu list. That's fine. Mardu, red and white. Black and white. Anything else we really care about? That is the question. Settle's pretty good. Colossus Hammer always comes out. We're going to settle. Buster Sword is cute, but we're never going to... Or we're going to have a hard time getting through the various large board they're going to generate. Yeah, the large boards the Boros Energy list can make, as well as a Goblin... What's a Goblin Bombardment? The sacrifice card you just played. Means it's very hard to, like, get through. That's a good hand. I don't think it's responsible to play the Outfitter right now. Yeah, we're in a bad spot. Is there any point where... I mean, okay, the black came in from their, like, Village Rites style effects. So, like, that counts and all that. But I cannot help but wonder. Does it matter in any other circumstance? To be honest, the deck does appear to be more red and white. The only reason why I was thinking so hard about that is red and white are the colors that are likely most represented in their deck, but the black and white are the more removal colors, if that makes sense. Hang on. Okay, how are we doing this? I can do this at instant speed, right? So I could do Outfitter, reducing the equipment cost to 1. That's the only thing we have in our hand. I can keep the Stoneforge open for blockers and do the sort of War and Peace thing at a faster speed. Right, at instant speed, kind of. Yeah, that's fine. Guide of Souls, oh boy. What a terribly interesting card. Man, Guide of... This is not... this is not really related to the deck we're playing, but the deck... Our game plan remains the same. We just have to, like, hope we resolve a War and Peace. Although, I think we're going to get there. They don't have any removal. But what I was going to say is, like, Guide of Souls... in all of the life gain heavy cards that float around the format have really pushed out like traditional like mono white aggro list. I think it's just irresponsible to not make a mono white list that isn't life gain heavy. Why do you say that, Max? I hear you say. I have been doing a little bit of testing with a mono white list, really fast. War Peace comes into play, and it's become painfully obvious that the life game payoffs are so much better than like an old school kitchen table level, like kitchen table level deck that is traditionally like a mono white aggro thing. It's just not that good. I think it's smarter to get rid of the Guide of Souls. That's why I was so quiet there for a second. The Amped Raptor would suck, but with the War and Peace, we're going to start... I goofed that a little bit. I could have gained an extra life if I had waited until after to get lost. But I think the Guide of Souls represents more damage in the long term. And this is... We have a new target now. Kind of. Yeah. Okay, ignore my point now. I was going to say something else, but a Johnny is now the thing we're going to get rid of with Get Lost. To do anything else is absolutely silly. Yeah, make a dude. Go face. Oh, he gets... Okay. That's okay, because that's damage not going to my face. So we take those. Okay, so I got to make sure to order this correctly. Attack first. Go face. That way I get the most amount of heal out of the War and Peace. Second main, we can do a mountain. Get lost on the Ajani. And this keeps up the Seat of the Empire here for an interaction spell. You can't... Well, okay, you can black removal spell it, which you probably will. Because you have to have black in there more for, like, than just a couple cute card draw spells. Fragment Reality. Yeah, okay, I guess. That's cool. That's cool. No bullshit. I think that might... Well, I was going to say it might have lost us the game, but it hasn't hard lost us the game. It's just not looking good. Because that was the only way we were going to get through. To be fair, they needed to do that or they were going to be dead anyway, so I can't really give them too much guff. Seat of the Empire, away the big guy. I mean, yeah, you can do that. And that is the right play. I just don't think they're going to be able to do anything with the mana. I don't think there's any way. Well, I guess I could... Okay, there's plays I can do. I'm correction. Not plays I can do anymore. That actually kind of fucks me. Crack one of these. I don't think it's gonna... Well, sure as fuck isn't gonna matter if we brick and draw a couple bad hits. Okay, so we flood one game and run dry the other. Let's see what's gonna happen here next turn. 1, 2, 3. 1 sacrifices to some random dude, activates the Luris, replays a land. I'll keep going, but this game is probably over. There's not a whole lot we can do to come back from this. We just had an answer. Yeah. I mean, it's not a... Well, okay, I answered my own question a little bit. One of the reasons why you can include the black, in addition to the card draw, is like just being able to cast Luris a little more. Traditionally. Okay, that's actually, like, unironically. I like that. Okay, their deck is sufficiently different. They just didn't, like,
add like black for 2 card draw spells. They actually added like some interesting stuff into it. This Apprentice makes me feel a little less butthurt about losing to this deck. I don't argue it's good, it's just one of those that's been around. It's like a B tier deck, it's always floating around. Oh, but you're a lot of fucking help. It's always been floating around and always will be floating around. And certain matchups that I'll have will do better or worse against it. We'll give our opponent the out here to be polite. But yeah, this deck is one of those. You will see it. You'll have good matchups and bad matchups against it. Because the base of their list, I do maintain, is still just that Boros energy list that managed to survive. It survived bans. It just did have a little bit chopped off of it. And that's honestly kind of what you want out of bans, if we're being entirely honest. You don't really want to, like, totally gut a deck from existence. And credit given to Wizards, they did do that, and it needed to happen. But yeah, that is a weirdly rambly and off-focus video on I think the 3rd version of Hammertime. Deck is still good. It is objectively better, and well, subjectively better. Let me use the right words. I believe it is in a better place than previous versions were. Do I think it's gonna do well against the like Boomer Juns or Black Heavy matchups, or even matchups like this? No, but like it's an average deck and will get you to platinum. But it does have really the problem that all equipment decks have by design. It's very easy to get 2 for 1, and you can't eat too many, get like 2 for 1s and like really be able to do the cute aggressive thing. Will I come back to this deck? 1000% all day long. If they add like more cards that will help its resilience, I don't think the power is going to get much stronger. The deck is largely still going to be an aggressive combo deck. I don't think that's really going to change. If we have some better like interaction spells or ways to survive or to like mitigate that 2 for 1 problem this deck has, then I'll probably come back to it. Or if, ideas for decks are running low and there happens to be, a couple new cards, then you might see it then too. But anywho, thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like the video if you like it. Subscribe if you like my grab bag of content and would like to see more in the future. And if you have questions like, I don't have X, what about Y, or other generally nice comments, go ahead and leave those down below. I'll do what I can to respond to what I see. One last little thing on that particular note that I will touch on. This deck is, oh my god, so not budget friendly. It's not even kind of budget friendly. All of the payoff cards, which is like the cool equipment, like all of them are like mythics and rares. A lot of the cards that are payoffs themselves, like Stoneforge and Cloud, are like also rares and mythics. Like it's so not budget friendly. And I mean, you mechanically can make like certain changes, but if you don't have the protection swords in the sideboard, then I just don't think this deck functions at all in best of 3. I'm sure in best of 1, Hammertime can be cute and do cute things. Now the video is finally over. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.